this is a hilarious story if you ask me. Mike Lindell is, of course, the unhinged far-right conspiracy theorist. He absolutely loves Donald Trump. He's basically dedicated his life. He's the My Pillow guy, but now he's dedicated his life to, like, I'm going to expose the rigged election. And by that, I mean, I'm going to, tell Trump what he wants to hear 24/7 and make a fool of myself, even on CNN. When you make CNN look like they're good at their jobs because you're so insane, that's always hilarious. There's a famous, interview he did with CNN where he, goes through all these claims. I got the documents. He does the Alex Jones things. He holds up a piece of paper that's got like all these, these words on it and numbers and like symbols. And he's like, I got the documents right here. This shows. And then they cut to like CNN actually went to the places where he claimed all these voting machines were rigged. And some of the people were like, okay, I don't even know what we weren't ever at any point connected to the internet. So whatever documents he has, he totally made up. Like, we're not even connected to the internet. And they said, we counted one way and then we did hand count afterwards and these are the results. It's absolutely proven. Whatever. Anyway, he's a clown of all clowns. Well, now we got a little bit of right-wing civil war going on because Mike Lindell decided to turn his guns on Ron DeSantis. Because Ron DeSantis, of course, is a threat to Trump, and a lot of the polls show that. And he's Team Trump. And so he goes out there and says, I don't know, man, I'm not really buying this big victory that he had over in Florida. He wants to audit the election.
That's amazing.
So here's what they say in the Daily
Go,
Beast.
Mike, go.
My Pillow CEO Mike Lindell has enjoyed the loyal support of MAGA world and conservative circles over the past 2 years as he's pushed to overturn the 2020 election results. But in recent days, conservative pundits have begun turning on the Pillow maven over a new conspiracy theory that involves auditing Republican Governor Ron DeSantis' 2022 victory in Florida. Specifically, right-wing blowback against Lindell began emerging after he announced his plans to audit DeSantis' victory in Miami-Dade County. Now, remember, Miami-Dade is usually a blue stronghold in Florida, and DeSantis actually ended up winning that.
Right.
And so Lindell comes out and says, quote, I don't believe it. Lindell said on his Frank Speech website Tuesday evening regarding DeSantis' 10-plus point triumph. So it's just going to show everybody, just like we always tell you about Democrats, where they stole their elections. I'm going to find out if Dade County, what happened there. And so just one more fact I'll give you here real quick. He goes on to say, of course, Republicans don't win this county. So this can't be real. And then a bunch of the, right-wing influencers, commentators, etc., absolutely turn on him. So one person says, this is James Lindsay, who's right-wing guy, intellectual dark web type. He posts about like trans issues all day long, 24/7. Like he does the whole like okay groomer bullshit. Anyway, quote, everything down to the wording of this makes me think that Mike Lindell is a highly patriotic but extremely vulnerable man being used without his realizing it to discredit real election integrity efforts, which is evil and sad if correct. Tim Pool responded with, quote, LOLOL. You have Newsmax TV host John Cardillo said Lindell needs to go away. And, the list goes on. I don't know if Ben Shapiro has gotten on this yet, but I'm sure he'll have a fucking field day with this one. So, look, okay, there's a serious point to be made here, which is oftentimes people like to get into bed with crazy if the crazy is useful for them in the moment.
Yes.
But then what you don't realize is crazy, and eventually that crazy is going to be turned on you.
Right. Well, like Kanye's whole arc here comes to mind where like conservatives who are so, they love to slam like Hollywood elites, but the minute that there's any sort of like celebrity or cultural figure that is remotely amenable to their views, they're like so super excited.
Yep.
And so Kanye, was come out, he's a Trump fan, he wears the White Lives Matter t-shirt with Candace Owens, and they're all so excited. Tucker has him on and is, pumping him up as this like conservative truth teller. Then come to find out they had left the most like insane parts of that interview on the cutting room floor. And then to come out, oh, this guy is not just like on the right. Oh, he's actually literally views himself as a Nazi and a Hitler lover and all of this stuff. And suddenly there's a distancing. But yeah, it was so predictable. This guy's off his rocker and you may take the pieces of it that are convenient for you, but you're going to be stuck and saddled with the other parts of it. So with Lindell, it reminds me of that whole arc too, because now you've sold this whole view of all the elections that are like, they're all suspect, and based on your gut feeling, you can call them into question. So don't be surprised when he does the same thing in a way that you find to ultimately be inconvenient.
Okay, but now here I'll say the controversial part. I'm curious if you agree with this. Do you agree with me that this is sort of like a sign, yet again, that the people who are most connected to Trump world, most involved in Trump world, like the leaders of Trump world, that they are, as time goes by, they get more and more disconnected from reality, more and more they lose touch with like the normie voter in America. I feel like all of the signs, it's not just Trump who's, going crazy and retruthing stuff about QAnon on a daily basis and saying terminate the Constitution or whatever. It's like everybody who is still circling the wagons around Trump and linking themselves to that world, they're all like crazy like this. And so that I think that doesn't bode well for 2024 for them. Like it shows me, if anything, I think this like helps DeSantis.
Yeah, I mean, I think what has happened with Trump is throughout his time in political life, he has just consistently thinned his ranks and thinned his ranks and thinned his ranks through all of these loyalty purity tests. And as he continues to force people around him to jump through increasingly bizarre hoops to justify his madness and his conspiracy theories and his allegations, at the end of the day, you end up only left with people who are like legitimately insane. And that's basically the stage of Trumpism that we're ultimately at. Yeah,
and I think him too, though, you know what I mean? Like there was a time in 2016 where he knew how to walk that line properly to get votes, where he sprinkled in like the standard right-wing xenophobia with like some economically populist arguments.
Yeah.
Now sort of a potent mix. But then as time has gone by, 2018, 2020, 2022, and now upcoming 2024, it's like he siloed himself off. He's only listening to the insane people because they're the only ones who will stick around him and tell him what he wants to hear. And now there's no politician's touch anymore. You know what I mean? There's no reading the room anymore.
Yeah. I mean, a different version of this happens, I think, with a lot of presidents, because once you are in the White House, you are almost definitionally in a bubble. And Trump loves to have these yes men around him in this very sort of like autocratic way, who are going to verbally pledge their fealty and supplicate themselves to him and
good word,
are not gonna, won't push back on any of his most insane claims. So the fact that you're already naturally in a bubble when you're in the White House, and then he furthers that by just wanting yes men around himself. Yeah, I think he's completely lost touch. I mean, it was evidenced by when he did his whole like, I'm going to have a big announcement. He drops this on Truth Social. I mean, he hasn't done much of anything since he launched his campaign. And then it's, I have a big announcement. People are like, oh, what's this going to be? What's it going to be? And then it's his like shitty, ripped off NFT collection. Again, even Steve Bannon on that one was like, I don't even know what to say about this.
Yeah.
He was like, I am not with this at all. So any sort of common touch. And he had a very deft touch. And the part of the way he did that too was he would go out and give these speeches and he would gauge the crowd and what they responded to. He would A/B test. He would then take those pieces and incorporate them in. But he's not doing any rallies right now. He's not really interacting with anyone outside of his very, very inner circle. Instead of being on Twitter where he has to see at least some mainstream pushback and conversation, he's over sidelined in the ghetto of Truth Social and only again surrounded by people who are, total sycophants. So he's very, very, very disconnected. There is just no doubt about it.
Agreed. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.